You're going to learn today a single phrase that Thoth left written in his forbidden grimoire. And when you say this phrase, just once, your body will respond. Yes, your cells will obey. It doesn't need to be repeated. It doesn't need faith. It just needs to be spoken in the right state. But why does this work? Because this verb is not symbolic. It's a real command, a vibrational instruction. And the most shocking part, you've probably already used this same power, only against yourself. Phrases like, "I'm done" or "I can't take it anymore" are also commands. And your body obeyed, literally. Today, you're going to understand how this obedience was corrupted and how you can reactivate it with awareness, precision, and a single word. Stay with me until the end, because when this word is released, you'll never see your body the same way again. The word is the breath of the soul, and the soul is the mold of the flesh. Before humanity's vibrational fall, there was no confusion between what was felt and what was created. The spirit gave the command, the body carried it out. It was immediate. Words weren't memorized. They were sacred instruments of command. Every sentence, every sound, every gesture, everything had a direct consequence on matter. And the cells, tiny conscious sparks of the human temple, waited in reverence for the breath that would activate them. Thoth wrote this in the grimoire like someone recording an urgent warning. He revealed that, in ancient times, every cell was like an attentive scribe in the hall of the gods. A clear intention was enough, and biology would reorganize. Pain would stop, inflammation would recede, aging would slow down. There was no resistance, only readiness. Because the body knew, one who commands with awareness never fails the decree. But over time, something was lost. Words were emptied. Phrases started being repeated without presence. The mouth kept speaking, but the spirit no longer supported the sound. And the cells, too loyal to tell the difference between divine command and mental noise, kept obeying. Only now, they were obeying chaotic orders. That's when the silent rebellion began. A revolt that never screams, never explodes, never announces itself. It happens in the shadows of everyday life. A poorly spoken phrase here, a repeated thought there, an unconscious outburst in the middle of pain, and the body, in its sacred humility, records everything as truth. I'm exhausted. This is killing me. I can't take it anymore. Every time these words are spoken, the cells hear them as if the Creator himself were speaking. And they respond. They cut off energy. They throw systems out of balance. They disrupt internal harmony. Not because they want collapse, but because they've been trained to serve without question. Thoth was clear when he wrote, "Humanity didn't fall ill by accident. It fell ill by repetition. It repeated the wrong phrases. It repeated unresolved feelings. It repeated self-destructive thoughts. And when all of that became routine, the body had no choice but to turn unconscious commands into symptoms. But why do cells obey even what destroys them? Thoth responds with a brutal truth. Because the body doesn't judge. The body doesn't evaluate. It simply serves. It doesn't decide whether the command comes from an awakened master or a distracted mind. It just follows, and it follows perfectly. The liver increases inflammation if anger is commanded. The nervous system drains energy if hopelessness is verbalized. The stomach rejects food if the command is rejection. This absolute obedience is both a gift and a curse, because it gives humans the power to create at all times, even when they think they're just venting. And so, word after word, decade after decade, the flesh shapes itself to the poorly used verb. But the most serious part is that this programming doesn't just happen on the physical level. It installs itself in the subtle fields. The cell is just the visible tip of an invisible chain that starts in the etheric field and flows down into matter. The command is born in the unseen and carried out in the flesh. That's why, when Thoth wrote about this silent rebellion, he wasn't blaming the body. He was warning the soul. The betrayal didn't come from the cells. It came from forgetfulness, from the unconscious use of the word, from repetition without presence, from the belief that what is said doesn't matter. And it was exactly that mistake that broke the link between spirit and body. And it's exactly at this point that Thoth's wisdom begins to rebuild the temple. Because the grimoire isn't just a warning about the error, it holds the reversal code. And that code begins with something so simple, so basic, that it went unnoticed for generations. The breath, the living bridge between what is felt and what is manifested. The code that reactivates the lost command. The breath of creation, the breath that awakens the word. This breaking point between the spirit and the body, caused by the unconscious use of words, was not born from evil. It was born from disconnection. The human being stopped breathing as a divine being, began to live in emotional apnea, suffocating commands within the chest, ignoring the only bridge that connects all dimensions of the self, the breath. Thoth reveals in the grimoire that no decree can be obeyed if it's not supported by a conscious breath. There is no creative verb without the breath of presence. That's why he delivers the first rite of restoration, the sacred breath, Ankh-Neter. This name isn't poetic, it's vibrational. Ankh means life in eternal renewal. Neter is the divine principle in manifestation. When united, they form the silent command that reactivates the lost axis between the body and consciousness. The ritual is simple in appearance, but powerful in essence. It's not made to relax. It's made to awaken. Awaken the cells. Awaken the flesh. Awaken the living word that faded from the inside out. Thoth describes that the human body has 3 primary command portals, 3 centers that, when synchronized by conscious breathing, return to functioning as a single channel: the heart, the solar plexus, and the throat. The heart is the altar where emotion becomes frequency. The solar plexus is the generator of pure will without resistance. The throat is the throne of the sacred verb, where intention becomes sound. In the rite, the initiate breathes slowly and with purpose. The first inhale is guided to the heart. There, emotion is felt without judgment. It's not about seeking peace or joy. It's about feeling what is alive. On the second breath, the air moves down to the solar plexus. Will is awakened. Energy starts to move. On the third, the breath rises to the throat. But there is still no speaking. There is silence, a pulsing silence. Only then, with the whole body reorganized around the breath, a phrase is spoken in absolute silence. Not with the mouth, but with the vibration that fills the field. My body serves me because I am the living word. This phrase is not a mantra, it's a decree. It is the moment when the body, once rebellious, once disorganized, begins to recognize who is in command again. The mind quiets, energy flows, the spirit settles. It's as if the cells, which have been waiting for years for a coherent command, finally hear the original sound that gave rise to all things. They don't just obey, they celebrate, because that's what they were made for. But this breathing must be done with reverence. It's not about repeating for the sake of repetition. Every cycle is a vibrational lever, a reunion between soul and flesh, a reminder that you are not at the mercy of your body. Your body is at the service of your consciousness. Thoth warns, if you want the verb to create reality, you must first create a field, and the field is born from the breath. Without it, Every word is noise. With it, every word is law. But even if this bridge has been restored, there is a river inside you that keeps carrying the old commands. And this river doesn't obey logic. It obeys accumulated vibration. This internal river, which keeps carrying the old commands even after the breath is restored, is the blood. For Thoth, it is not just vital fluid. It is Heka Sa, the river of subtle power that circulates between worlds. Every drop contains a memory. Not a common memory, but a precise vibrational record of everything that has been said, felt, and believed. The blood doesn't think, it transmits. It carries to every cell the energetic command contained in the vibration of words. There's no filter, no correction, only delivery. If the command is elevated, it distributes strength. If the command is destructive, it delivers ruin. Phrases that seem harmless, like "my blood is weak," "this runs in the family," "this disease is hereditary," are absorbed as non-negotiable sentences. The blood takes those statements and turns them into biochemical pathways, not out of punishment, but out of loyalty. It doesn't argue with the one who carries it, it simply serves. Thoth revealed that the blood is the greatest servant of the human vibrational field. It's through it that the soul communicates its intentions to the flesh. But when the soul is asleep or contaminated by beliefs that don't belong to it, the blood begins to carry out orders that aren't aligned with the essence of the being. At that point, the body starts to develop illnesses that are actually just physical manifestations of rooted ideas. Anemia can be a response to a deep sense of insufficiency. High blood pressure can reflect tension built up from words never spoken. Chronic inflammation often carries the weight of an old anger, silenced but never resolved. The most impressive thing is that, even in those conditions, the blood continues to obey. It never gives up doing what it was told. It is absolute loyalty, a loyalty that, without awareness, turns into self-sabotage. Thoth left in the grimoire a code to reverse that current, a vibrational name that acts as a release key, Sohe Kai. This sound must not be shouted or repeated mechanically. It must be spoken with full presence, during the silence that follows conscious breathing, when the heart is open and the field is aligned. Sohe Kai is an activation that commands the blood to stop repeating the orders of the past. It doesn't erase what has been lived, but it dissolves the magnetism of unconscious commands. It's as if the river, once carrying mud, begins to flow with crystalline light. And as that light circulates, the cells start receiving new signals. Cellular regeneration becomes possible not because of a mystical miracle, but because the body is finally receiving commands that support life. But there's something even deeper than the blood itself, something that commands it from within, before any word is ever spoken. Something that isn't in the body, but within the field. That something is where you hide what you haven't had the courage to feel. And it is there that the most dangerous poison is formed. The poison of repressed emotions and the command to release them. This place where you hide what you didn't have the courage to feel is more dangerous than any physical toxin, because unlike the blood, which only circulates, hidden emotions accumulate. They create zones of stagnation in the field, spaces of silent noise that emit involuntary commands, even when you think you're at peace. Thoth was direct in the grimoire. What you feel and don't express becomes an invisible decree. And the weight of this statement is not just symbolic, it's literal. The body's energy field registers those emotions as active frequencies. The anger you swallowed, the sadness you buried, the fear you pretended not to feel. All of that keeps vibrating, and everything that vibrates gives orders. Repressed anger lodges as sharp tension in the liver and stomach. Over time, it turns into acid, inflammation, and can become an ulcer. Denied sadness affects the lungs, reducing breathing capacity, taking the soul's breath away. Unacknowledged fear settles in the heart and adrenal glands, slowly draining vital energy. It doesn't matter if you call yourself an optimist. The body listens to the real vibration. It doesn't respond to what's said. It responds to the emotion you hold when no one is watching. That's why Thoth left in the grimoire a precise ritual of transmutation. And it's not about forced positivity. It's about conscious, vibrational reprogramming. A process that requires 3 steps. No rush, no lies. The first is to accurately name what is alive inside you. It's not enough to say, "I feel bad." You need to tell the truth. I feel anger, I feel hurt, I feel fear. Naming opens the first door, because what is named comes out of the shadow and begins to lose its power. The second step is to breathe directly into the affected organ. It may sound strange, but it works. You bring your attention and your breath to the point where the body stored the pain. You breathe there 3 times, slowly, with presence, as if telling the body, "I see you. I will not ignore this anymore." Only then comes the third step, the command phrase, with vibrational authority, without doubt, without hesitation. You say, "Command revoked, release authorized, create only peace now." This phrase is not a suggestion, it's a new energetic contract. The field listens, the organ responds, the cells reorganize. Because for the first time, the command is aligned with truth. This ritual doesn't require an external ritual. No candles, no altar, no incense. It can be done in the silence of a bedroom or in the middle of a hard day, because it works at the point where everything begins, between what you feel and what you vibrate. But even after revoking an old emotion, there's still a challenge. The way you issue your commands must be recognized by the body as command language, because the body doesn't respond to pretty phrases. It responds to an exact form, a specific pattern that activates total obedience. And this is what Thoth reveals in the next key of the grimoire. Thoth made it clear in the grimoire that the word is only obeyed by the body when the internal structure is whole. It's not enough to speak with authority. You must emit the sound over a coherent architecture. Otherwise, the command disperses. The body doesn't reject it, but it also doesn't respond. It freezes, gets confused, enters energetic collapse. That's why, at the center of the grimoire, there's a hidden map. A diagram that, to common eyes, looks like just an esoteric figure, but to the initiate, reveals the deepest truth, the living geometry of the light body. Thoth explains that each organ, each system, each layer of the human body was shaped upon sacred geometric forms, and those forms aren't symbolic. They are real structures that sustain cellular harmony. The heart beats inside a golden spiral. That's what ensures the perfect rhythm of expansion and contraction of emotional energy. The lungs vibrate within an octagon, symbol of balanced breathing between the inner and outer world. The liver operates on a hexagon, a structure that organizes the alchemy between the material and the subtle. The kidneys flow in a sine wave, a living curve that regulates emotional and energetic cleansing. But when someone lives outside of their purpose, gives in to unconscious repetition, constant fear or disconnection from feeling, those forms begin to distort. And what once was harmony turns into noise. The physical body then starts to reflect that invisible destruction. The heartbeat gets irregular. Breathing becomes shallow. Metabolism disorganizes. Energetic release gets blocked. And the most serious part, the word loses power, because it no longer finds a structure to support it. Thoth teaches that before commanding, you must rebuild. And for that, there is a specific ritual, Sekhem-Mat. It's not just about movement, nor just about sound. It's the union of gesture, voice, and intention, executed in a precise sequence that realigns the body with its original geometric patterns. Each gesture of Sekhem-Mat is like a divine compass tracing forms in the field. The arm that turns isn't just moving muscles. It's restoring the octagon of the lungs. The hand placed over the liver activates the sacred hexagon. The sound that is emitted isn't decorative. It's the code that vibrates exactly at the frequency of the heart's spiral. Thoth instructs that this ritual must be done in a state of reverence. Not like someone performing a technique, but like someone reopening an inner temple. Because the body, when restored to its original geometry, becomes once again able to obey the sacred word. And something extraordinary begins to happen. Pain recedes without apparent reason. Energy flows again. The organs respond with lightness, because they finally recognize the environment that nourishes them. But even with the whole structure restored, even with the sacred forms reactivated, something is still missing. Geometry is the foundation. The command is the tool. But no temple stands without an altar. And Thoth reveals that this altar is not outside, nor hidden in the chambers of the temple. It pulses silently in the center of the chest, and it is in the heart that all creation must begin. The ignited word, the word that creates reality. It's at the exact point where geometry is restored that Thoth reveals the most delicate secret of the grimoire. No sacred word can stand if it's not spoken from a living altar. And this altar isn't in any external temple, nor in any ritual object. It pulses, silently, right at the center of the chest. Thoth calls it Mer-Ab, the altar of the soul in the body. It's not just an organ. It's the center that connects the invisible to the physical. It's where the soul touches the flesh. When someone lives outside of their truth, this altar becomes corrupted, not physically, but vibrationally. The electromagnetic field of the heart becomes incoherent. The natural frequency, which once emitted harmony, starts to generate noise, a subtle noise, but powerful enough to throw all systems out of alignment. That's why so many people who say the right words get no response from the body. Because the command doesn't come from the center, it comes from the mind, from effort. And the body, which recognizes the true temple, does not respond to false authorities. To restore the altar, Thoth teaches a simple but non-negotiable ritual: alignment between heart and word. First, the hands must touch the center of the chest, not as a symbolic gesture, but as a gesture of presence. Consciousness must be called back into the body. Then begins the triangular breath, a deep inhale rising from the base of the spine to the heart. A brief pause at the center of the chest, then a soft exhale descending into the belly. 3 points, 3 focuses, 1 sacred circuit, and finally, the decree. But not just any phrase, only this one. I consecrate my heart as a temple. Only truth lives here. When this phrase is spoken with full intention, the Mer-Ab is reignited, and the body, like a temple finally restored, becomes ready to hear the creative word. And only then, the word can be released. And once it's spoken, there's no turning back. Thoth describes the moment of the word as a point of no return, a moment in which the universe bows to the sound of presence. The tone doesn't matter, the volume doesn't matter. What matters is the source. If it comes from the mind, it's just noise. If it comes from an aligned heart, from an embodied soul and consecrated breath, it becomes ignited. The ignited word is not a technique, it's a state. The throat, which for so long was used to complain, lie, or manipulate, then becomes the throne of creative power. According to the grimoire, there are 3 types of speech. The one that complains, based on the victim. The one that influences, based on the ego. The one that decrees, based on inner truth. And only this last one has the power to alter biology, because it doesn't emit an opinion. It emits a vibrational command. But the word cannot be spoken at just any moment. First, 3 conditions must be met. The breath must be sacred, the heart coherent, the presence total. When these 3 elements are aligned, a single phrase, said only once, can alter cellular programming. This phrase is not taught at the beginning. It is not revealed to those looking for shortcuts. It arises naturally as an inner revelation when the field is ready to receive it. And in that moment, the cells listen, because the vibration doesn't come only from the mouth, but from every layer of the being. But there's a risk, one that Thoth warns of with emphasis. No creative word works if the soul is disconnected from the body. You must first reincarnate, and I'm not talking about being born again, but about returning, fully, into yourself. The sacred word, your cells obey. Speak only once. It's precisely at this point, when the soul returns to the body with awareness, that Thoth reveals one of the most underestimated secrets of the initiatic tradition. Sleep is not a pause. It is a sacred ceremony, a ritual that repeats every night, yet almost no one performs it with presence. The modern world taught that sleeping is shutting down. Thoth teaches the opposite. Sleeping is rebirth. And this rebirth only happens when the human being learns to fall asleep like an initiate. During deep sleep, the ego rests and the rational mind, which judges and resists, is suspended. It is in that space that the body's energetic structure can be dismantled and reassembled without interference. But this doesn't happen automatically. For regeneration to be real, sleep must be treated like a temple, a daily portal of vibrational reconstruction, and that portal has a name long forgotten through the centuries: nocturnal reincarnation. Thoth describes this process as the moment when the initiate says goodbye to the character carried throughout the day, the masks, the roles, the beliefs, the fears, and surrenders to the darkness of sleep, like one diving into a vibrational womb, a space where the soul can correct, adjust, and reprogram the commands that were launched into the body during the waking life. Before falling asleep, Thoth's initiate doesn't just lie down, he performs the silent rite. He visualizes the body dissolving, cell by cell, like stardust, returning to the original field of light. It's an imagined return, but real in the subtle field. An undoing of the flesh, not as death, but as a reset. And in that moment, with eyes closed and soul present, he whispers, not to the world, but to his own energy body: corpusum secundum exemplar perfectum. Let my body be reborn in the original pattern. This phrase is not symbolic. It is a vibrational password. It doesn't need to be understood. It needs to be felt. It doesn't work on the intellect, but in the field. And the field understands. The cells listen, because the body, unlike the ego, doesn't need explanations. It needs clear commands. And it's in that in-between, between the visible and invisible, between falling asleep and dissolving, that the body's original blueprint is reactivated. Thoth teaches that this is the most vulnerable and most powerful point of the daily spiritual journey, a moment where everything is suspended, where time stops, where the flesh stops resisting and the soul takes command. It is in that absolute silence that the word begins to take form, not as ordinary speech, but as a decree, as a primordial command, as sound that organizes light. And then, when everything is still, when the field is clean, when the heart no longer holds fear, when the internal geometries have been restored and the soul has fully returned to inhabit the body, the word is released. At the end of the forbidden grimoire, between pages that were never to be read by impure eyes, there is a golden fragment, small, discreet, almost faded by time, but alive in the vibrational field of those who have reached this point. And there, Thoth does not write with exaltation. He writes as one who delivers a final key, a key that only works if all the previous doors have been opened. The word that gives commands to the body does not need to be repeated. It needs to be remembered. This remembrance doesn't come from the mind. It comes from essence. The soul recognizes that vibration before thought can understand it. And that's why only those who have gone through all the activations can speak this phrase with truth. Because now, everything is ready. The breath has been consecrated. The emotions have been released. The geometry has been restored. The blood has been purified. The heart has been reconsecrated. And the soul has reincarnated in the body. Only then, with eyes closed or open, with the vibrational field stabilized, you say, I am the word that reactivates the form. I command the flesh to obey my light. And in that instant, there is no more resistance, no internal noise, no cell hesitates, because the source has spoken, and the body recognized it. Obeyed. Regeneration begins. You feel it. The blood flows lighter. The heart slows down. The energy reorganizes. The pain disappears. The body responds. Matter bends. And that's when you understand. It wasn't a metaphor. It was a real code. A sacred vibrational technology. You didn't just read a forbidden grimoire. You didn't just understand ancient wisdom. You remembered that you have always been sovereign over your flesh. And now, your whole body is listening. It was only waiting for this one command. If you made it this far, it's because something inside you recognized this truth. So write here in the comments, I give the right command. This phrase is an activation. It marks the moment when you take back command over your body and inspires other awakened souls to do the same. And before you go, wait just one more second. If you want to support this channel more directly and help spread content like this to more people who need to awaken, there's a special link in the first pinned comment. Your contribution keeps this knowledge alive and helps build a new field of consciousness on the planet. I've picked a special video here on the screen for you to continue this journey with us. Click now, because what's there completes everything that's been activated here. We'll meet you there.